I'm just a little more experienced with this type than you.
I grant you know infinitely more than I do, but in this case...
Do not complete the sentence with the usual female contradictions. You grant me I know more than you. But on the other hand, you know more than me. We must talk back.
Alex, what are you going to do?
Something more for you than for
Alex.
me. I'm calling the police.
No, please.
You are giving me orders. My own pupil.
You don't know this man. You know only science. You know his mind, but you don't know his heart.
We are speaking of a schizophrenic and not a Valentine.
We're speaking of a man.
Do you expect me to talk?
Good evening, everybody. Hello, and welcome to episode 261 of Do You Expect Us to Talk? We are back at long last. I'm Becca, and as always, joined by my fellow co-hosts or persons in therapy, Chris and Dave. How are you?
Good evening,
well,
folks.
thank you very much. Good to be back. Good to be back with
you got to say that, though, haven't you? You're in therapy. You got to claim you're all right.
My two patients.
Yeah.
No, not really in therapy, of course.
I don't know. It's you know, it kind of like keeps us sane, I think.
I've been driving you all bonkers. That's what it is. Being off this past year or so.
Well, I don't see that's the case, Becca. But
that's a relief.
With our was it one episode per 3 months? I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting back there now slowly. I can't see us ever being weekly again. We just got too much going on in life. But I don't rule out that it may be every couple of weeks or even better. And you may even get weekly spells in that, no pun intended, in that, like, we'll do tonight's and it may well be, once I got it edited, they go, we can do this time next week. So I think it's always going to be a bit more unpredictable. But believe me, without going into any details at all, we've got incredibly good reasons why we've been so unprolific in the last 15 months. And it's got nothing to do with mental health. It's got nothing to do with not being interested. It's a range of things that have affected all three of us.
But we are back.
So sometimes it can just be really boring stuff as well. There's nothing like remotely like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's just general life getting in the way.
Silly little things like, I mean, my mother was widowed a few months ago, and like I had to have her here because she's not very mobile. And then suddenly you're dealing with that, and it's all pretty minor everyday life stuff. I don't think it's anything that, it's nothing grand. It's just a massive coincidence of
life
things
getting in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. But we will make a little more effort.
Understand and they stick with us, so thank you.
They do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people saying, "Oh, when are you starting up again? When's your next episode out?" I'm like, "It's coming, it's coming." So.
Yeah, we're always quite, professional and friendly. People have said when you're coming back, we said, "Fuck off, it's free. Just do it what you feel like, all right?"
We'd never say that. We'd never say that to people. Maybe to our closest inner circle. Yeah. But they know us, so it's all right.
Yeah, all right. So we have actually done a few episodes since Christmas. Obviously, we came back for a Christmas commentary, and then we did a film and a couple of books. So if you actually take it since Christmas, we've been just less than one a month, really. But obviously, we were in the midst of a series until just over a year ago. We've even got unreleased episodes that are now getting on for 18 months ago. So we're back to a specific series, Becca.
Yes, so we are going to rejoin the Hitchcock train, and tonight we are going to... Yeah, doo-doo. This is it.
What sound would the Hitchcock train actually make?
Well, I mean, I know instinctively not that one.
No, not that one. No. It would be, instead of Choo Choo, it will be the tune of Funeral March for a Marionette, that theme tune, which is made famous by his theme tune for his TV series. So yeah, I don't know actually. I don't think. Or would it be the train that Joseph Cotton falls out of at the end of Shadow of a Doubt?
Yeah.
Or the train that goes through the tunnel at the end of North by Northwest.
Yeah, but that's a shagging reference.
It's a sexy tunnel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. or the train that Guy Haines meets Bruno Anthony on, and Strangers on a Train. Any other trains in
I don't
Hitchcock?
know. I don't know if the metaphor means that they're having sex or whether they're saying lots and lots of workmen spent months in a tunnel. I don't know.
They got it on. I think that's what happened at the end of that
Got it
movie.
on.
They
Yeah,
finally got it on.
they did.
Hitchcock tried to get around the censors and was like, right, let's just do this.
What do you mean if the censors hadn't been there, he would have just shown penetration?
Probably.
All right, fair enough. And credits.
It was 1959 or whatever it was, 1950s.
Yeah.
Well, they do say that, he was the Michael Winner of his day.
Well, that's true, yes.
I
Calm
mean,
down.
no one's actually
I
said
was going to
that
say,
ever
no
before.
one's ever said that. No. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, one of those directors who's kind of like Ken Russell or those sort of people that are kind of known for really pushing the envelope as far as it will go, or trying to, get around the censors, get around censorship.
Okay.
So
But that's not for a few weeks, and I hope it is weeks at this stage, referring to North by Northwest.
oh
So
yes,
where
yeah,
are we?
a few of those.
Where are we now? For those of you who have forgotten, we were
Really, not
somewhere
far off North by Northwest.
we were somewhere in the 1940s, weren't we, Becca?
Yes, we did Lifeboat, which was 1944, and so tonight we are reviewing Spellbound, which actually celebrated its 80th anniversary last year in 2025. So Spellbound stars Gregory Peck, Ingrid Bergman, excuse me, Leo G. Carroll, who actually worked in total 6 times with Hitchcock, Norman Lloyd, who we saw in Saboteur, also starring Rhonda Fleming and Mikhail Chekhov. As a fun fact coming up about him, with a score by Miklos Rozsa, another name I can't pronounce, I do apologise. With a screenplay by Ben Hecht, based on the novel The House of Dr. Edwards by John Palm, writing as Francis Beading, adapted from the novel by Angus MacPhail, directed by Hitchcock, and released in 1945.
Yeah.
Sorry to butcher all the names there, I do apologise.
Don't worry about it. What was the one you were struggling with? Yeah, I don't know.
All of them.
I don't
Miklos
know
Rozsa.
the music. I could have a go, and I might be right, but I might be wrong, and you hate just guessing, don't you? All
Yeah, I
right.
do apologise. It's no disrespect, but yeah, I do have a history of mangling names. But no, he's a, a brilliant composer. And again, I've got some fun facts coming up about him throughout the show. But it's just a shame that they never worked together after this. So never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, well, you've probably got facts around this. I won't say too much at this point, but Hitchcock did not like this score and did not like the direction of travel. It was pushed by O. Selznick more than anything else. And
Well, that'll explain why he never worked.
No,
well, the point I would make is they were early on in the film, because I'll get onto my thoughts in a minute, but early on in the film, I was thinking, this score is really intrusive. There's too
this
much of
sounds
it.
familiar.
And then as it went on, I was thinking, this score's brilliant. This is really good. So, I mean, it was intrusive, and I think that was one of his complaints. But as the film sort of settled down, it's got a score that could easily have become quite iconic in places.
You kind of got two different aspects of it. You've kind of got the romantic theme, the do 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 sort of thing, and then you've got that kind of the theremin, sort of spooky score whenever John Valentine,
The
what's his name,
theremin
John Brown
stuff's
is triggered.
good. Yeah.
And it's kind of, yeah, there is a bit of a story about that one. So obviously he basically scored this one and The Lost Weekend back to back, and the two are
Yeah.
quite similar. Also Lost Weekend, I think that won the Oscar. Obviously Rozsa won, because Rozsa, I can't pronounce his name, I do apologise. Won the
No,
score
he won an Oscar for
won the
this
Oscar
film.
for this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously he scored this and Lost Weekend back to back, and yeah, they are quite similar with the theremin aspect in that as well. And obviously that film similarly kind of deals mainly kind of like with addiction and redemption, things like that, but kind of like deep-seated like psychological issues. It's quite daring at the time as well. But I think it came out, I think it was the first of the two to be released. And obviously this kind of upset Hitchcock and Selznick a little bit, as they kind of felt that the score had sort of been leaked or stolen. And yeah, he's one for, he really burned his bridges. When he burnt them pretty
He
much to the
did.
ground.
And not surprisingly, given where his career afterwards, Hitchcock wanted
Yeah,
Bernard
exactly.
Bernard
So,
Herrmann, yeah.
but yeah, we'll come to that as well. I've lots about Bernard Herrmann coming up, which I cannot wait to share. Very exciting. But yeah, I just kind of feel like, he's one of those great composers, and they have this massive rift, and it's just like, why? But that was just him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few bits of information about like personally why I've chosen this film for this series, and then a little bit about Angus MacPhail if you're interested.
Well,
Yeah.
let's start with that. You tell us why you've chosen this film and what have some of the stuff around that, and then maybe Chris and I will talk about our history or lack thereof with it and what we think of it.
Yep, sounds good. I tried to plumb it as best I can. Um, so I think Selznick, obviously, he was quite famous for he spotted like many stars, many celebrities. Bergman was one of them. She was perhaps most famous for having worked with Hitchcock as well, really early on in her career. This is one of three films that they made together. The other two being Notorious and Under Capricorn, which we're not covering, unfortunately. Sorry, it's so boring. Um, this is also a very early role for Gregory Peck, who's very handsome, must be said. And they're kind of very sort of parallels, and certainly in terms of appearance. But also that you can there's maybe like a through line with characters like or actors sort of like Tony Perkins or Farley Granger, for example. They're kind of very tall, sort of dark haired, tall, dark, handsome, um, who may have kind of sort of like fractured psyches in some way. Um, and this film is really underrated, I think, in terms of its portrayal for vulnerable masculinity, which is also something quite new at the time. Obviously, 1945, you've kind of got obviously what was then called shell shock, obviously known as PTSD. A lot of like returning soldiers coming in from the war. And it's quite famous for its early depiction of psychoanalysis, which now seems a bit naive. But it was in vogue at the time and become very popular at the time. And the film is also very famous for it was going to be 20 minutes, but it was actually cut down to 2 minutes. The dream sequence designed by Salvador Dali, no less. Just a little bit about Angus MacPhail. I think he had really interesting career as a writer. He worked for many years as a screenwriter for Michael Balcon, and also wrote for some of Britain's other most notable studios like Gainsborough, Gaumont, and famously Ealing even. For example, Went the Day Well, The Halfway House, Whiskey Galore, and also Dead of Night, which I've mentioned a few times before on the show. He collaborated with Hitchcock a few times in his career, writing Hitchcock's 1944 propaganda movies, Bon Voyage and Adventure Malgache. And he also obviously famously wrote or co-wrote Spellbound, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and lastly, The Wrong Man. So that's my little blurb in prep for this.
Yeah, I'm just looking. The Man Who Knew Too Much. I think we mean the 1930s version, don't we?
Mm. Yeah, sorry, that's the one I meant. Yeah.
No. I'm also reading here. I don't know the truth of it. He is responsible for coining the term, not toining the term, coining the term
That's a sort of
MacGuffin.
spoonerism that I would do.
Yeah, yeah. MacGuffin.
MacGuffin, yes, he came up with a
yeah.
MacGuffin. I think this
Yeah.
film arguably has two MacGuffins. But yeah, famously, it's the thing that the police or detectives are after, but the audience don't really care about that.
It's just like plot device, isn't it, really?
It's a plot
It's like
device, yeah. So like in Psycho, for example, it's the $40,000, whereas we're not too worried about that. We want the good stuff.
It sometimes literally doesn't matter, or they'll give it.
No, it's just a plot
Think
device.
Mission Impossible 3, The Rabbit's Foot. I know they
Yeah,
tried
the
to
Rabbit's Foot,
retcon
that's a
it
great
years
idea of
later,
MacGuffin,
but at the
yeah.
time you didn't know what it was and didn't really care.
No.
The briefcase in Pulp Fiction. I know that's only part of one story, but you didn't care why they were at the apartment, but they needed to be there for something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all
Yeah,
it
it's a
needs,
plot
really.
device moving things along.
Yeah. What's everybody there for? If you had to identify one thing, that's the MacGuffin.
Yeah. Why the heck are they all there? Yeah, anyway, yeah, initial thoughts.
Dave, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'd never seen it. There's a few things to say about it, really. I mean, I'll get into. Yeah, no, I'll tell you what I think about it as well. Just a couple of minor things. I've seen Ingrid Bergman in remarkably little. Casablanca's a real favourite of mine, unironically and not in any sort of cliched way. I love that film. I liked her in it. I can't quite see because we always say that Rebecca Ferguson was chosen and called Ilsa for her closeness to Bergman, and I can't see it. I really, really can't. But her and Gregory Peck had a short fling during this film, but she was very famous for having flings with her leading men. And there was one of them, I forget which, they said it was really passionate on set, and then the day the film wrapped, you couldn't even get her on the phone. Gregory Peck had two fairly lengthy marriages, but he admitted it rather later in his career. So there is actually a bit of chemistry between them. I've never seen Gregory Peck this young in anything. I don't think I've ever seen anything this early in his career. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, I think, for most people would be To Kill a Mockingbird, which
Mockingbird,
is
yeah.
1962.
For me, it's always
So,
Omen.
Yeah, The
I
Omen,
oh,
obviously.
sorry, those. Yeah, I see two different. It's a bit like Sean Connery. I see two distinctly different Gregory Pecks, and one of them is like around the time of To Kill a Mockingbird, and a few things around then, like it's a few years earlier, but like
Also
Roman
Cape Fear as
Holiday.
well, the original.
Yeah, but again, Cape Fear is 1962. It's the
That's
same
it, yeah,
year.
60s.
So I've seen lots of him from his mid to late 30s to his mid to late 40s. And then, of course, you see him in later stuff, Greyer, Moustache, and all that.
mm,
Um, I've not seen him this year. I mean, he was never overweight, but he's very sort of slim and wiry here, and I've not seen him that young before. Um,
Yeah, I think this was only
I
like one of the first handful of um very, very early role. Um,
yeah. And I think as well, when you, in terms of what I think of the film, and I don't want to damn it with faint praise, and I don't want to set up that almost I don't like it, but if you remember my very first review of Spectre, I was much kinder on the whole Bond foster brother thing than I ever would be now. And the reason was I was expecting an absolute disaster. And when you watch it and it sort of hangs together, you go, oh, okay. I mean, it is poor, but I think I came into this expecting it to be embarrassing because it's 1945 psychoanalysis. A dream analysis it's got themes to it. It's not particularly scientific, but correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, because maybe there's more science to it than I know. But a lot of things are like indicative of stuff. It's not something you could like decode with a pen and paper in 10 minutes,
mm.
which is what they do here. Um, but I was looking for perceived pitfalls from this director that we see again. I really love Alfred Hitchcock, but it's like at the end of Psycho where the guy stands there and explains exactly
explains it
what's
all.
just been up, you know, and it's just like you wouldn't maybe you need to do that in that era. I don't know, but I thought everything was going to be ludicrously explained. There was a
Well, I
little
think
bit
to
of
be
that in it.
fair, that was literally just to get around the censor. So that was kind of that scene was tacked on to avoid censorship there. Um, whereas we don't really get anything like that here.
No, but he did do it a couple of times through his career, is all I mean. And if you apply it to something like this, where psychoanalysis is just not understood in this era at all, um,
No, it was very early on in the 40s, definitely.
I thought it would be very misunderstood in the story. And the other thing I was thinking of, I thought, and I genuinely had it disproved at the end. I thought he'd get so into the hook of psychoanalysis being the thing that we'd almost forget the key bits of plotting because it's only late in the film you can infer it, but when we find out the guilty person and what happened, we do get the why it happened. There's still a couple of grey areas. Was his breakdown because he did this, or did he do this because he'd had a breakdown? But at least they sort of tried to explain it. Whereas he sort of disappears out of the film for so long, and you can infer motive, but they actually get to tell you what it was all about. Um, some of the imagery is quite funny because again, censors. And that's joking aside, really, because obviously you're never going to see anything that crude, but it is a bit trained through a tunnel in places.
There's a scene where like they first kiss and it's like opening doors. So literally doors have been opened in her mind, but listeners, they're not doors.
Yeah, but the back door opens as well. Yeah,
Well,
right.
they are, but they aren't.
Well, no, it's the last door. You think, well, theoretically, that is the back door, isn't it?
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, he opens a back door. Um,
It opens up to a garden.
yeah,
But
and yeah, some of the shots around that are odd. But it doesn't outstay its welcome. 111 minutes. It uses them pretty well. I think they're really good in it. I think Gregory Peck's really good, full stop. I think he is that sort of everyman character that, it's no surprise he played the sort of family man in Cape Fear. That's very him, the decent moral man in To Kill a Mockingbird. But, he plays this with just enough shade. And he actually thinks he's guilty for quite a lot of this. We'll get into what we mean by all that because we know not everyone listening to this will have seen it. But given it's 1945, given it's a subject matter that's not well understood, given there are censors, given it is dealing with slightly grisly subject matter in its way, and given it's quite a traumatized man, they've done about as well as you can do with it. And I think everyone's really good in it. I've always really, really liked. I like him so much I can't name him. Yeah, Leo G. Carroll. I've always liked him.
He looks the same. I'm pretty sure like he was born looking like that. Like he looks the
Yeah,
same in all the
yeah.
movies. Like
He
even when he was the boss in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., like he still looks the same. You know what I mean? It's got quite sort of a sort of a well-known. He's always playing sort of like doctors or, I mean, here obviously he plays quite, spoiler alert, nefarious character. Um,
I think he's a difficult cast because there's always something about him, and you see it later in some of the other films he did. But I think my final point at this point would be this could have been an absolute disaster. There's enough in it that's like slightly funny because of its age that I don't think there's a world where this becomes one of my favorite of his. But it's nice to see Gregory Peck in with it. It's nice to see Ingrid Bergman in a few more things. I've seen her in other stuff if I think about it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Chris?
Yeah, I kind of liked it. No, I've never seen this before, at all. I don't think I really heard about it at all. No, so
Very old
uh,
film.
yeah, no, it just I mean, Hitchcock's done so many films that he's got his classics, but you just don't know like, or there's so many other like classics that people wouldn't even know or forget about. So sure, to some people, Spellbound is one of them, but yeah, no, I'm not familiar with Bergman film. I've not seen her in much other than Casablanca. I don't think I've seen her in much. So, um, it
Well, I've never seen Notorious, and I see she's in that.
yeah.
Yeah, just
Um,
So
looking forward to that next week.
yeah,
Or next time, whenever we can do it again.
yep. Spoiler, that's the next one.
Spoiler alert, coming soon.
Yeah, she was very much. It kind of reminded me of like today's films when you see like the the young 20 something hot actress as a in a doctor role. I'm like,
yeah.
would you be doing that? Does this back
It's not just
reality?
hotness, it's age as well. It's like not even quite 30 yet, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
It
like,
takes a while to get to the top of these
I
professions.
mean, I've no idea, but but it's nice though that Hollywood was doing this like even back then. Like it
Mm.
wasn't a fairly modern thing they're doing, but yeah, no, Gregory Peck, I always think of Omen for me. He's always like, it's either that or the original Cape Fear guy.
I
Um,
love the original Cape Fear. I mean, just as a quick aside, when people talk
It's
about
such a
Robert
classic, isn't
Mitchum,
it?
well, when people talk about, I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. You can love both, but there's similarities in the two roles. But when people talk of Robert Mitchum, they talk about Night of the Hunter. And whilst that film is perfectly fine to me, I've always adored and preferred to the remake, the original Cape Fear.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those ones I think, yeah, the remake, I was lucky to see it at the cinema, part of the throwback on Everyman.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro is utterly terrifying, but I think it's quite interesting.
Mm.
I think Spielberg was due to direct, but then he didn't, and so he passed it to Scorsese instead. And it's kind of one of the more commercial films that he sort of made. Um,
it's amazing the amount of films that Spielberg like could have gone, yeah, he directed that. And you go like, oh, like, what a different reality we would have lived in.
yeah, it would have been, I think it probably would have been certainly less violent. I think if Spielberg directed it, would have been a completely different film, I think. Um, but
His
yeah,
tattoos
so
would be like Mickey Mouse. R2D2 would be one of his
it would
tattoos.
be, yeah, E.T.
Because they all do like little references to each other, don't they? On that,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it could. Yeah,
yeah,
but the
there'd
thing
be,
with
yeah, maybe
Spielberg,
he might have a Jaws tattoo or something like that.
the thing with
Um,
Spielberg though is like it's one of them common. It could have been like that enormity, like all that one film he did where it was like really fucking
no,
violent.
he could do it. He could do it. He
oh yeah,
can
he could
do
have
it,
done, yeah,
doll, and he
definitely,
would have,
100%.
and that was an R-rated film. He would have understood the assignment.
Yeah, totally. It's not like he's just kind of known for making these sort of films.
Yeah, what we're saying is flippant and jokey because we're talking about the most commercially family-friendly
Yeah,
version of
more
him. But yeah,
family
of course
movies
he
that
could do
Spielberg's
it.
known for making. So
Yeah,
this is it.
yeah.
Like Poltergeist. No, he didn't direct that. Well, legend has it.
Well, the legend has it he pretty much did.
Yeah,
But
or some films where he
but
did direct, but he might have
his
produced, for
fingerprints are
example.
all over that. You can
Oh
see
God, yeah,
that's
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
and that has some dark sort of violent type sort of moments in it as well. You see, he can kind of probably see it would be a different film, no doubt. But
It would, but yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, his fingerprints are definitely
So,
all over that
yeah,
one.
But I think in summary, what we're saying is if you want to know a bit more about Gregory Peck's mid-career, go and watch a Nick Nolte in 1991's Cape Fear remake.
Well, that's got like all the original cast, isn't it? Because you've got the
Robert Mitchum is in it.
yeah, Robert Mitchum and Martin Balsam as well pops up as a judge in the middle of it. He doesn't have very many lines because he was quite poorly at the time, but it's kind of got the original trio from the original film, which is really cool. But yeah, I'd seen the remake sort of many times years ago, and lucky to see it on the big screen recently. And I was like, you know what? I've never actually seen the original, so I thought I'd better rectify that. Absolute hands down masterpiece. Mitchum is utterly terrifying. I've had nightmares for days afterwards. Oh my God, terrifying. But yeah, really, really good.
Just as a side, has anyone seen at all the new one?
Oh, I haven't seen the new series yet. No. Yeah, I don't
is
have
it a
Apple
series?
TV.
It is a series. It's
yeah,
10 parts and it's Javier Bardem.
I think it's on Apple TV, something like that, which I don't have, unfortunately.
Which I don't have it either at the minute. I sort of
But I
scoot around the
imagine
different
Javier
ones.
Bardem would be fantastic. I think he'd be spot on.
I don't. I think
really?
it looks. I think it looks. I mean, I don't know because I've not seen it. But from the trailers, I think it looks really bland and very blah.
Oh no,
Oh no,
really?
I'm not that bothered about it. I'm just talking about the casting. I don't think I need it.
I haven't seen
I
any
don't
trailers
think
or
I
anything
need
yet.
another take on Cape Fear. I think it's been done both in a sort of older era and a relatively modern
I
era.
wonder what they're going to do. What
You
they're
could
going to
do what you
differently.
wanted in 1991.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see kind of how they do it differently, or if anything, if they're going to make any changes to the story or what. But I think in terms of the casting, maybe sort of like the family, like the parents, perhaps are maybe a bit typecast, perhaps. Maybe Javier Bardem is probably typecast because he's quite good at sort of playing villainous characters. But I think it'd be interesting. If I had Apple TV, I would
He is
probably
an
watch it.
obvious choice.
Yeah, he is a bit
If you want
typecast,
somebody a bit
but I'm sure
more
he'll be great.
ambiguous, if you want somebody more ambiguous, you get like
Yeah.
but genuinely could be terrifying.
You want somebody who's charming.
You get Oscar Isaac or something.
But
No, I'm serious.
outlandish
You
a
get
bit.
someone like Oscar Isaac because he could be
Yeah, he's very
either
handsome
side of
with
the
it.
line.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect for a role who like is someone who doesn't regularly get to do roles like that.
No, that's true, actually. Yeah,
So you
good
get
point.
someone who like go like, oh wow, have you seen him in this? Wow, he's oh my God, someone that kind of takes you
What,
back.
so like Neil Morrissey or something.
I mean, maybe not that particular
Martin
one,
Clunes.
but
Well,
yeah.
I tell you what, he's obviously known for kind of like doing comedy roles and things like that. Like Martin Clunes, I would say I went to get when he was in Wuthering Heights. Like for me, he stole the film. He was really great as like her drunken dad. And I just thought it was fantastic. Like, I mean, the central couple were beautiful. But I just think for me, the film belonged to him. Like he stole the whole show basically.
So anyway, we're getting off the
Spellbound.
thread, which was we were talking about Jeremy Peck. No, we weren't. We were talking about Gregory Peck.
Who's that?
Jeremy Peck. You must know Jeremy Peck.
Greg's less famous brother.
Lesser known brother. So yeah, another film I can recommend is called Gentleman's Agreement. It's got a strong message about not discriminating against the Jewish community, and I highly recommend it to you.
Okay, what's it? A Gentleman's Agreement?
It's like 19.
I can't find it.
Late 40s.
Okay.
As I happened to randomly see it one rainy day on Channel 4 or something like that.
I'm just going to go to his filmography now and see if I can find it. Yeah, carry on, folks, while I'm looking for that.
Yeah, so I was going to say, Becca mentioned previously that it was Salvador. So yeah, and that's one of the things I thought by watching the Dream Seekers, and I didn't know that. I generally watched that thinking they're probably leading into Salvador Dali here, and so I didn't know. Oh, it's actually him who designed the book. Yeah, so like okay, fair dues then. I mean, but yeah, this is very much like has a very surrealist edge to it. But it probably leaned into the mind, should we say? That aspect on which are kind of like fair play to it. I mean, it is basically like standard Hitchcock fare of man goes on a run. There's a romance, with a girl he's on the run with. Just with a load of psychiatry thrown in there as well.
Yeah,
it's a wrong man movie wrapped in psychology, wrapped in psychiatry, that sort of thing.
Just as an aside, Gentleman's Agreement was directed by Elia Kazan.
Yep, that's the one. Him of On the Waterfront fame.
Yep. Okay. What did
Fun
you
fact
think of it
quotes.
then, anyway, Chris? What did you like
Yeah,
it?
but yeah, no, no,
Did
yeah,
you like
no, well,
it?
oh, yeah, I liked it as a whole, definitely. I kind of I like. I saw what you mean by the score. The score was very like overpowering, but if it constantly reminded me of like it was selling it as a romance, like it was just constantly this sweeping sort of like almost like like a big like love story um score but it kind of felt slightly off a little bit, and I wonder if that was like sort of purposefully done. So it's kind of like makes you think, yeah, there's this big sweepy romance, but
It's
something's not quite
romantic, but
right.
it's really damaged somehow. Yeah,
Mm.
I got that. It felt like it. Funnily enough, he didn't like the score, didn't use them again, but it felt a very Hitchcock score to me. It really did.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's
As I
one of
say, there
those.
were
It
periods
deserves
earlier
to be more
on.
famous than what it is.
There was too much of it in certain scenes, but it did calm down as the film went on,
Yeah, it does a bit of
and
heavy lifting sometimes, doesn't it? And I think
it does.
especially the movies of this kind of era as well, there is quite a lot of um uh, like there's almost too much music, perhaps. Um, but yeah, it does kind of lay it
Yeah.
on, bash you over the head a little bit. So
It was one scene I noticed it in, and I thought, why is this playing so much of this? And as the film went on and themes started to sort of show themselves and reveal themselves, and I've heard this, yeah, that's that theme. Um, it really started to grow on me. I really liked it. So yeah. Um, so um, is it a film you've seen a lot, Beck? Did you know it reasonably well?
um so yeah, I've seen it quite a few times actually. For me, I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know. I've never kind of studied psychology, psychiatry, or anything like that at all. Tried to do sociology A level, didn't get very far. But I just think it's kind of really important actually. It's one of those I do think now, like through a modern lens, it hasn't dated particularly well. Um, Especially due to some of the themes and that. But I think for its time, I think I do have to admire it for sort of how I don't know if groundbreaking is the right word, but it was one of those really early films to discuss psychology, psychiatry, things like that, and also to deal with kind of like trauma,
And people
um,
carrying trauma and damage, yeah.
yeah, that sort of thing as well, and especially in the way it presents kind of masculinity and that as well. I was listening to Foreign Correspondence podcast, which I fell off their wagon a little bit, but I just got back on. And they're I can recommend listening to them. Their discussion of it in terms of masculinity is really interesting. Especially for a role so early on in Gregory Peck's career as well. He obviously went on to play sort of like leading men. Um, Interesting. I think he made I can't remember the name of it as one film that he made. Um, he actually he wasn't able to fight in the war due to like a back injury or something, I think. Um, so he came to Hollywood instead. Um, and I think one of the films
I know
he
I can
does.
help the war
Yes, I know
effort.
I can do this. Like yes, I can entertain the troops. Um, And yeah, so I think one of the films he did play a soldier who was returning from war. It was lots of, short traumatic sort of things like that. Um, but yeah, so this is like for me, even though we're not doing films like Stage Fright or The Paradigm Case, um, or Under Capricorn, this is one that I do feel is underrated. So I'd like to celebrate it here a little bit. Um, I can give you kind of like a bit of a précis about basics around it leading up to it, and that if you want as well, just a bit of
Sure,
information, should you
sure.
wish.
Yeah.
Anyway, I literally, I was trying to think, what can I find out about this movie? And I just did a brain dump. So please excuse me. Plus also, I have to cite here, Gary Lewis of Hitchcock Talks and Tours. He screened this film last Christmas. And I think this coming Christmas he's going to do Rebecca, which is quite interesting. So a lot of information comes from there as well. Um,
Can we
because
watch when he does that?
sorry.
Can we watch when he does that?
Oh, yes, you can. You can come along to do it when he does it.
When he does Rebecca. All
When he
right.
does, right? Yeah, he
Cool.
does. Yeah, that's me.
All right.
No, but yeah. So he's doing
Carry
that.
on then.
He's doing that.
Yeah.
He's doing that film. Yeah, it's going to be a bit gross. It'll be behind closed doors, don't you know? Oh. Sorry, I laughed so hard. Yeah. So Hitchcock makes Jamaica in 1939. Taking like nearly 4 million at the box office. So I was like offers in the contract. Something like 11 million, something like that. To make 7 films in the US. Obviously he makes Rebecca, as we did.
Yeah.
And then basically goes on to have like hit after hit, like Suspicion. Um, so I've written SOAD, which I want to say System of a Down. for Shadow of a Doubt, Lifeboat, etc., etc. And this Spellbound is obviously the first collaboration with Ingrid Bergman, and she'd feature obviously in a previous film, Spellbound, and a Capricorn, Notorious. Um, in 1940s as well. Also, Rebecca made $6 million. And Hitchcock's first Oscar nomination, especially for Joan Fontaine. Obviously, he would never win an Oscar throughout his career. In 1942, he goes on to make Saboteur, which we covered. Arguably, made his North by Northwest are kind of similar. Obviously, and then makes Shadow of a Doubt. But in 1945, it's quite interesting. Obviously, in the cusp, well, the end of sort of World War II, he makes Night Will Fall, which is about the liberation of Bergen-Belsen. On British TV, it was actually buried for many years. It was shown on Channel 4 in 2015. And then again, I think last year, 2025, for World Holocaust Day. And until that, it had never been shown on British TV.
Right.
So this film, Spellbound, it was nominated for 6 Oscars. Hitchcock didn't win again. Billy Wilder won for The Lost Weekend, as we mentioned. Hitchcock wanted Rosa to do the score, but obviously when he won, he didn't really congratulate him. So I'll go into a bit more about that later on in the show. And then the last film, obviously, between Hitchcock and Selznick was Paradigm Case, which we won't be covering because it's also very boring. But I think it has a really great cast, so I'm debating, but at the moment we won't be covering it. But at this point, Hitchcock wanted a bit of the slice of pie for himself, because Selznick was kind of loaning him out at this point, so he really wanted to kind of break free. Obviously, Hitchcock, the next company he would make would be Transatlantic Pictures. He obviously went on to make sort of Rope and Under Capricorn under this new company, which he set up in 1947 with Sidney Bernstein in preparation for him leaving his contract with Selznick. Under Capricorn, incidentally, was a bit of a flop. So the two didn't really work together again. And obviously Hitchcock would famously go on to make Chamonix Productions, which made his TV show Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which obviously when that ended, he wrapped it up and sold it to Universal in 1965. So that's my little info dump there. Apologies.
No, that's cool. It's all good background, and yeah, you name check a good number of films. Some of we've already done, but things
Yeah,
like
we've
Rope,
done
I
quite a
can't
few.
wait
Yeah,
for.
so it's kind of like a potted history, so I do apologise. And also been out of practice for a year, so I do apologise, guys.
Yeah, we're not match fit. This is just us on the warm up. This is the training field we're on at the
Yes,
moment.
because we're going into a big one next time. So
In terms of the plot, yeah, this is just treat this as a warm up. It's probably not going to be that long an episode either, because
no,
I
quite
don't
short and
know.
sweet.
I don't know. I don't think the plot's anything that detailed. There's an element of man on the run again, which we've seen before. There's enough different wrinkles in it to make it interesting. These two have pretty good chemistry. It's hung around a different topic, but basically it's a mental hospital in Vermont, and she's working there. Constance Peterson, I think she's called. In fact, I can see it now. She is called that, and she's a psychoanalyst, and she's all about the work. And the head of the institution is retiring, and he'd been off for a period of time dealing with a nervous incident. We don't know if that's overwork or whatever it is, but there's a board of directors, one assumes it's just called the board, and they've just said he needs to retire, and he's going to be replaced by this Dr. Edwards, who is Gregory Peck. And all of this is covered quite quickly. He arrives, and it is like the Playboys. It's like, I love you, almost straight
Yeah,
away.
they are a little bit like the old
fall
boys
in
club,
love
aren't
in
they? Really?
they fall in love in about 36 hours. Um,
Yeah, it's like literally the next scene they're in a field together, like.
yeah, yeah.
Eating liverwurst, which I think is quite
It's
funny.
it's it's really strange, but I mean they've got an immediate magnetism. You can buy that. There's enough
I think
chemistry between the
when you
two of
are
them in the
Ingrid
moment.
Bergman,
But
she's beautiful. She's Northern European, and when you're Gregory Peck, tall, dark, handsome, you can't really say no. It's such a beautiful couple.
And they do have chemistry, but it's just quite funny that she's painted as this sort of slightly aloof professional, and within 36 hours, she
Yeah,
loves
she's
this
in
guy
love.
to the doubt, to the lack of doubt that he could have done any of what's coming. And of course, she turns out to be right, but on no evidence whatsoever.
It's like gut instinct.
And I love the fact the way she says later in the film, I know he's innocent because I couldn't love someone like that. And I'm like, well, if someone fell in love with me and I was like nothing but a decent person, but then I suddenly murdered someone, I can hardly go, well, it's your fault. Obviously, I didn't do it. You couldn't fall in love with someone like
No.
me. Um,
But it just touched that cliche of like, oh yeah, but you don't know the real him.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he's not really like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but based on nothing. It's not like they've worked together 6 years and then something's happened where they've seen each other in a different light and got involved. 48 hours in, because this plot does roll along quite quickly. It's the first thing we see is these strange, and I don't know how realistic these sort of outbursts and turns are, but it's something to do with, I mean, the first time it's not overly clear what it is he's responding to because she's drawing a fork over like a napkin.
Hmm.
So you don't know if it's, I thought it was like what we would now understand to be like an OCD thing. Like she's ruined the flow of the napkin. But obviously as time goes on, it's to do with parallel lines on white.
Yeah, it's kind of black parallel lines on a white background, isn't it?
Yeah. And as the days go by, I've got the synopsis in front of me, but it's quite funny. I don't know how the sensibilities of the era were over this because she quite happily just goes to his room and stuff like that. And they're
I think some
declaring
things
love.
You sort of have to overlook a little bit, don't you? And obviously,
Well,
where
it does.
she's
I'm
and
hardly
she's quite a senior.
scandalised, but
To be fair, like the whole thing would be completely, she's a doctor, he's his patient. The whole thing would be completely unethical. Like
well,
now,
once as the film goes on, yes, and they seem to get round that with some stupid rules. Like if I sit in a chair, I'm all right, and
yeah,
you can lay on the bed. But if it's the other way round, it's inappropriate. And
yes,
if I sleep on the floor, that's not right because that's inappropriate. Basically, it's like the writer's seen an image of that classic patient lies on a couch while the psychiatrist sits in a chair,
yeah,
and he's thought that's literally an ethics thing.
yeah.
But so they declare love really, really quickly. This time she's wearing like a what we know as a dressing gown in this country, a robe. This parallel stripes on that after they've kissed and he's opened her back doors. And then
Pardon.
ooh, ooh,
Or
what was that? Fanny Thomas there.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
That's a part as far
so
as reference for anyone who's like, what do you Fanny Thomas? Who's
what are
Fanny
they on
Thomas?
about?
we'll give you the year. You can do the rest if you don't know what we're talking about. 1995. Not a film. And that's all I'm going to say. Most Brits will get that. And then he has to do some surgery.
Minor
Because
surgery, and then he collapses.
he has a panic attack in the room. And the first clue something's wrong is he's written a book that he's autographed. I don't know if he autographed her copy or whether all of them were autographed or whether he autographed his own copy. I don't know. But she notices the two signatures are different. But the signature he's copied and his signature on a note that he's written to her. And if I was going to do two signatures, I'd make them more different than this. They're actually really similar.
They're
It could
quite
be
similar,
different.
aren't they?
It's different pen on a different feel of paper, and they are similar. They're really similar. It's like the same person has signed twice and just tried to make them look slightly different. Um,
Do you think that's
but yeah,
deliberate to kind of like make it like kind of a passable thing,
I don't know.
or do you think
It's
it's
like
just
he's,
like,
well, put it this way: if I was trying to pretend to be somebody else, and I've seen their signature, I suppose I'd try and sign somewhat like I remembered them signing. Like some people's signatures, particularly now when we don't write very much, but even some celebrities, it's just like a squiggle or a weird shape.
mhm.
And you go, well, like if you suddenly write your name legibly and it looks nothing like that. So I get it, but I just think, I don't know. I think that was, we need two different signatures and someone just wrote the same name twice. Um, but this is where we realize something is wrong. He says he doesn't know who he is and he's killed the real Dr. Edwards, but he doesn't remember it. How he knew to go and be Dr. Edwards, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure why he's turned up to be head of this. Wait, unless he's killed him and then seen his paperwork and gone, Oh, there's a job there. And the
So
thing
his
is,
paycheck thought, oh, what's that?
and we find out later on he was like an army medic. Now, of course, in that line of work, you would encounter trauma and shell shock, but that's not his training. He's there to like patch up people. So all of that is a bit strange. And if you wrote that into a plot now, all of the reviews would tear that apart. But you kind of let it go. So she comes straight into I need to prove him innocent. So she says, stay off work today. I'm going to try and get to the bottom of this. And then I love the fact that he goes away to spare her. Doesn't do it very well, does he? I'm
Well,
leaving. I don't want to make you suffer anymore. I can't involve you in this. By the way, I'll be in room 213, Empire State Hotel, New York. I don't want you involved, but if you fancy a shag or
If you fancy it, I'm in this room.
Yeah. I don't think he does give the room. She has to look in the
whatever
register
you
for
do,
this
don't
text.
go in this.
Don't go in
Yeah.
this room.
Don't try
251
to
or
follow
whatever it
me.
is.
I'm not letting you know where I am, but
I'm
it's
in
a
room 101.
hotel with the same name as
The
the
door's
toilet.
unlocked, so don't come in, please.
Yeah, don't come in. And if you see, and if I've got an erection, don't do anything with it. It's rather strange that I love that. I love that. He loves her too much. He can't involve her. Love JB, Empire State
But I'm in this
Hotel,
room
New
if you want to
York.
come and say hi.
Yeah,
Again, that's something like with the modern sensibilities, like GDPR and things like that. I think if you walked into a hotel today and say, "Oh, I'm looking for Mr. and Mrs. So," they would say, "Also, we can't give out that information," or something like
yeah,
that,
but that's not
unless
how
you're
she
maybe a
did it.
relative.
She looked through the signatures and found one that looked like his.
This is it.
So, I
I
mean,
don't know. I don't know if this is a film thing, right? But didn't New York did look less busy than
yeah,
like?
yeah.
And now obviously, population would have increased, but I would think is that just
It would
like a
still have been
film?
in the it was still would have been in the millions. It was stable for decades, New York's population.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like for a big city. It seems certainly less populous. But again, that was 1944, 45.
Yeah, I just wonder if that's actually a true reflection of it. It's just because it was a film, so obviously it was less cost effective to like just have New York be what it actually is, just littered with people, like cramming for space kind of thing.
No, it had a population of nearly 7.5 million then. So no, I think that's just movie. Let's not
Yeah.
complicate things. So yeah, she goes to New York. There always needs to be a degree of travel in this. So where do we go from there? She meets him in New York because he's really difficult to find. He's registered as
Mm.
John Brown. I suppose that's fair enough if he's JB, but again, you're not hiding very much because you could actually be John Brown and you're on the run for murder. I might have, called myself something else, but there you go. And she's absolutely convinced. He's convinced he's done it. He's convinced. She's convinced he hasn't. He thinks he's killed him, taken his identity, and just taken his job. And then she notices he's got burns. Is it on his hand? So she thinks I best see if he's a doctor. Well, you've just seen him do surgery. He had a
Mm.
pretty good crack at it, didn't he? If he didn't know what he was doing. But she asks him something medical and she gets it right. And then they've got to escape because their names, I think it's her name, is in the newspaper and picture. So they free associate and he says Rome. So they end up buying a ticket to Rome, Georgia, which he's got absolutely there's no chance it's that. And
No.
the policeman saw them, so they don't go there. They go to Rochester, New York to see not Sigmund Freud.
Yeah, he's basically kind of not
This
Freud, is it? He's
is
guilty
this
as
is
Freud,
what
but
the popular conception of what a psychoanalyst or a psychiatrist would look like.
I think this is where the trope comes from. Mikhail Chekhov, I'm pretty sure this is where the
Yeah,
trope comes from,
if
100%.
you was like sort of make this like a cartoon like version
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah, he would look
Yeah.
like this. Yeah, I think this is where he birthed that trope.
Complete with like slight foreign accent and everything to give that sort of slightly.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah, and any sort of psychiatrist, it has got a sort of faintly Germanic
Yeah.
accent.
he does recall on the train trip that he was in the army and he got burnt flying over Rome, he was talking about Rome, Italy. But then you would
Hmm.
expect that. But there you go. Um, when they get there,
Incidentally, another great Gregory Peck film, Roman Holiday.
Roman Holiday. Yeah.
That's a
I'm not
great
actually
film.
sure if I've seen it. I've got it in my queue.
I think it
I
might be on
suspect
BBC
I have
but yeah,
seen it, but I get mixed up with a couple or other of her films. But I'd like to see it.
yeah, very romantic.
So it's quite a small world we're in here because, I mean, there's two policemen there waiting. That's quite a stretch how they would think to go there. But it turns out this doctor knew Edwards and knew the story. He disappeared on some mountains with a patient. Um, and he just said, "Well, I don't like him. I didn't like him. He was a terrible analyst. He'd taken people skiing or all that sort of thing to cure them." She tries to pass herself off as married to Gregory Peck's character.
Well, that explains how random it is, doesn't it? Like
Well,
Yeah, completely
it's like,
random.
well, he had weird methods and just
yeah,
a bit off.
Whereas, like now as well, people are being prescribed things other than
yeah,
drugs or other
yeah,
than
and
medication, for example. Like now, you
people
would
do
say
get told,
go for a
go for a
walk,
walk,
or
or if you
yeah,
got the money, do go away for a few days. Um,
yeah,
but then
Or it's
if
an excuse for him to go on a skiing holiday, maybe.
I do love
yeah,
the idea though
probably.
that I could just be licensed as this and just like take people to play pool and get a bit pissed every day. and
Oh God.
that's three
Oh,
hundred pounds an hour, please.
we're gonna go all
That's
towers.
£300,
Oh,
please.
great!
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah, I need expenses plus £300 an hour, and
Yeah,
I'm
misuse
probably
of
being light
funds.
on that there.
Yeah, cost you a bit more than 300 quid.
So
That's a
he
cheap
puts
day
them
out.
up, and sort of that's that. And it, sort of Greg, I'm just going to call him Gregory Peck because we don't know his real name at this point. But
No, it's kind of
yeah,
JB, isn't it? But it's not revealed till John Valentine later on.
he has an anxiety attack looking at the bedspread, which is like white with textured parallel lines. And then he has an incident in the night. We had the conversation about the sofa and the bed, and well, our ethics dictate we can sleep together in the same room, but I've got to sit up in a chair.
Yeah,
I,
I've got to sit in the chair and yeah,
I
be
mean,
upright.
if they both did that but completely naked and like, is that all right? So yeah, he wakes.
I wonder if it's to do with like who's the patient and who's the therapist. I wonder if that's got
That's
because
what
they're in
she's
those
trying to
particular
say. She's saying
positions.
she's his therapist now, so we can be in the same room, but I've got to sit in the chair. You've got to be on the bed.
Yeah, yeah,
Because someone's seen a photo of that sort of thing. He goes for a shave in the middle of the night. The soap, the sink, something triggers him again. Um, he bumps into like her mentor, and he basically drugs him to give him a sedative.
yeah. I think that's quite a cool scene though. It's like in Suspicion where like she drinks the milk and it's the point of view, and again, so you kind of see like
You
the
see
point of
them,
view of him
yeah.
drinking the
If you were
poison
doing
milk.
so, when you say took a pint glass and drank from it, you could actually just look to the bottom of the glass. We don't tend to do that, but that's what the point of view does in the
No,
film, and I quite liked it because
And
yeah, it's really
Brulof's always
cleverly
in
done.
shot as well.
they do it again as well.
Yeah,
They do it again at the end.
yeah. You see
Yeah,
that shot
But
again is quite
but yeah,
cleverly
you
done.
see him through like the actual glass
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I think we see that again in the next film, so keep an eye open for that.
So yeah, I mean, basically the point is he's not an idiot. They've turned up. He hasn't heard from them in presumably a while, and as soon as they hit trouble, she goes, we're married." And the guy looks
It's my husband.
he knows all this, but she's insisting he's innocent because reasons. And then, and he says that, this is baby talk it's just a real silly way. But she says, "Look, if we can cure him in the next few days, will you hold off on the police?" And yeah, basically, this is the naive bit of the film. It's very visually inventive, but of course, we see this dream sequence, and it's almost like, in the Matrix, where you actually see the Matrix in its code form.
Mm.
It's almost like that. They're writing it down, hoping that they can like run it as code almost and say, well, that means definitively this, this, and this, which is a little bit naive, but at the same time, I suppose psychology or psychiatric people, psychoanalysts and stuff would probably analyze dreams to a degree, but I don't think it's as cause and effect as this. Well, those eyes are definitely this, and that's definitely that, and your brain is trying to tell you the location.
It's probably a bit
It's
nebulous,
probably a
isn't it?
bit
They're just
nebulous.
kind of, yeah, trying to sort of determine
So they
what it
sit
might be,
they
what it
sit
might
and
mean,
work
rather
it
than
out
saying,
like
oh
they're
yeah, this
doing a
is that.
round of countdown. They're just trying to sort of do the conundrum at the end. Um, and they work out where it is, and then they've got to go there, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do some really fun skiing, which has a really
The
poor
skiing's hilarious
back
because
projection.
it always looks bad when you got bad projection.
It's the rear projection, I
But
think,
if
really
you
lets
go
it
and
down. I
watch on
mean,
Her Majesty's Secret Service, they're actually moving and stuff, or they're actually moving their bodies. All they've done is slightly lean forward, and
and there's maybe there's a bit of a wind
they
machine
don't even
blowing their
change
hair.
their expression. And I'm not sure there is a wind machine. It's the worst pretend skiing I've ever seen.
There's a bit rear
And
projection,
yeah.
but
If you've got a favourite pretend skiing scene, write to us at expectedtotalk@gmail.com.
I think Majesty's will be up there definitely.
He had lots of guts.
He's got a
So
lot of
yeah,
guts.
they basically he recalls that he slid down a banister in one of these sort of almost New York type townhouses and kicked his brother by mistake into like some railings. He impaled himself and died. And that's the guilt because the book he'd written, or the book the person he was impersonating had written, was all about guilt complexes. That is a theme on this.
Yep.
He's carrying guilt, and the Constance's premise is it's displaced guilt from something else, not a murder we don't think you did. And his memory came back.
No.
He says who he is. He's John Ballantyne. He said he was treated for nervous shock. He went with Dr. Edwards skiing, and then he went over the edge to his death. So they now go there. Oh, they now go to look at the body, but there's a bullet in him. So he now has to go to prison for murder because that's the bit he's left out because it's the bit he didn't see.
He can't remember, so it's like, oh,
Well, you're saying you were there.
The whole
You're
thing,
saying
he
you're
is
skiing
amnesiac.
with him. You've conveniently now remembered who you were. Probably thought we wouldn't find the body, and there's a bullet in it. But they go back to work at Green Manors, and Murchison is put back in charge. You know, which is a bit of a clue. But then he said, "Yeah, I never liked him." And at the start, he didn't know him, didn't recognize him. Well, he said he'd never met him, and then he meets obviously Gregory Peck, who Constance later learns is not Edwards. And at the end, he said, "Well, I knew him." So she works it out. And actually, as a character, she sort of shows balls of steel here. We do get an explanation of all the symbolism and what that meant. And but yeah, they said references to the club, things like the police will be able to trace it to that club, but that club is referenced in a dream. That's not evidence, but okay. But they said, well, they can go and find the gun and it will match your fingerprints, and it turns out he has it on him.
yeah.
So I quite like this. It's quite a ballsy scene because she goes, "Well, you're not going to kill me."
I mean, it is a little bit like silly though, because he goes like, "Oh, well, that's interesting." So, oh, I'll just pull out the gun and like, whereas at this point he could have gone like, well,
good luck finding it or whatever.
or he could have just flat out denied, and then what? It's like, well,
and then they go to Gabriel Valley and don't find the gun.
Yeah,
I think the giveaway is he's greeted Dr. Edwards as Gregory Peck's version as someone new to meet who's taken over for him. That guy turned out not to be the guy, and later on, more than one member of staff has now heard that he knew him. He knows he's been off sick and everything else. And she also says, well, at the moment, you're not going to shoot me because you can get a lesser charge. It's in your recent medical history that you were off with like mental health issues, as we would call it today. And she just strolls. She goes out quite calmly, and we get a sort of almost redux of the milk drinking scene, and that we see the gun pointed at us, and it's the only flash of color in the film. We get a short flash of red, and he kills himself, and then
They get married.
I love you, dear. Let's get married. Yes. And that's it. They get well wishes from Dr. Brulov, and that's the end of the film. And in the details, or sorry, in the great scheme of things, this is my final thoughts, really. In the big scheme of things, this film is not doing anything really that Hitchcock hasn't done flavors of in other films. The man on the run, they're not sure who to trust, um, you know, trying to prove innocence, all that sort of thing. There's a few different wrinkles in it. What's interesting is I don't imagine there's anything else in his filmography, having not yet seen it all, that's going to be quite like this. He's trying something different. He's trying a few different themes. There's a few different shots in it, which is always nice to see. The casting for me is absolutely bang on. And I think it's just at a length that it's no classic, but there's enough of it there to have a bit of meat to it, but not outstay its welcome. So a good entry, one I'm glad I've seen. Doubt it'll be a favourite, but it would be a very, very easy rewatch with this sort of cast.
Yeah, I think for me it's a solid entry from at this point of Hitchcock in his career. I think it's quite interesting that you let's play ballsy that you took on like this more psychedelic aspects of it in terms of like
you try something like this, you could be laughed at, couldn't you? You just don't know.
I mean, yeah, you can feel. I mean, obviously, these ideas aren't particularly new today, obviously, but you got to think back then that this was probably like, oh, this is probably going for it. I do think I kept thinking again with Hitchcock. I was wondering, is there another edge? Do you know what I mean with like the Gregory Peck character? Because like he kept expecting that there to be like a little sting in the tail, like, oh, actually is a murderer, or actually he is messed up.
Do you know what I thought? I don't mean to talk over you, but just to sort of corroborate that point to a degree. I never thought he was the murderer, or what I thought I might find is that there's a harder edge to him, and that his outbursts might actually turn a bit violent. That it would all be explained away that he wasn't in his right mind, but that we'd suddenly go, oh my God, this guy is really dangerous. Now, it may have been the era it was made in, or it may well be that would have been totally over the top and unnecessary, but it wouldn't have surprised me. I was waiting for something more, but I'm not saying we should have got any more.
I don't know. It thought just occurred to me, kind of like the Psycho 2 ending.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where it's like, oh well, it wasn't him and all that though, but
but he's still mental.
Yeah. But yeah, no, but apart from that, yeah, it was a solid entry.
I love the idea as well, because early in the film when he kisses her, he said, well, I must say I don't ever remember kissing a woman, and at the end you find out he was a really promiscuous homosexual or something.
I'm not sure that'll pass the Hays Code.
No, just silly points that occur to you. We're trying to do the film justice, to be fair. Half of this is flippant, and when I say I thought I might see a harder edge in one of these outbursts, just to add to the ambiguity, neither am I saying they should have done that, or it would have improved the film. It's just Gregory Peck is, we know, probably retrospectively looking back on his career, that he would have had the talent to do that.
Yeah, again, I think it's one. I think I might have mentioned in one of the previous ones on Hitchcock. Like, had Hitchcock made this later in his later career, it probably would have gone a bit more harder edge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it would have more lead into
made it
like
frenzy.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be fascinated when we get to this is going to be my last point because it's slightly off the point. But it's funny because I suddenly thought forward to like the frenzy era, like the 70s, and like maybe he'd have been able to do something then. But actually, when you look at Hitchcock's career, it kind of dies off a bit at the end, doesn't it? And when you think, I always thought that was sensibilities changing because he looks I can't imagine Hitchcock, if he was still around and well, directed in the late 70s, early 80s. His time had passed him by. But then Becca talks about how many bridges he's burnt. And I'm like, well, when his career starts dropping, he's not going to have many defenders, is he?
Mm.
If he pisses everyone off.
It's kind of a mixture, really. I mean, like from my point of view, just as a sort of a layman sort of fan, really. Yeah, he did. I mean, he had many wonderful collaborations, and he worked with so many different people like throughout his career. I mean, obviously Bernard Herrmann, who we'll talk about later on. They had this epic career together, but then they had this almighty falling out as well, which really Herrmann kind of really broke his heart, really. And again, they never worked together again. But I think, yeah, when Hitchcock kind of burnt his bridges, he really did burn them down. Excuse me. But I think also, yeah, changing sensibilities. I mean, like for example, Psycho was quite sort of daring for the day. I think this movie kind of Spellbound, in terms of his treatment of psychiatry and that sort of thing, and representing it to the public in a way that was acceptable, because it was kind of fairly uncommon at the time as well. Okay, sorry. But yeah, I kind of think by this time, obviously he passed away 1980, something like that. Yeah, that was it. And I think Frenzy, I think, is a film that he only could have made post Hays Code. He couldn't have made that any other time, I don't think. Obviously, he sort of dallied with making a couple of spy movies in the Cold War, Torn Curtain, Topaz, for example, that perhaps didn't do that well at the box office, that sort of thing. And then sort of came back with sort of we are doing Family Plot. That's just because it's his last
I've never
film.
seen it.
But for me, although to be honest, I've really seen it a handful of times. So looking forward to revisiting it as well. But like for me, like Frenzy is definitely his last hurrah. And yeah, he could have really only sort of made that post.
I've not seen it, but I know some of the subject matter and content, so I know what you mean. Yeah, we've all got gaps in our filmography, and I've never seen it. And not only that, Hitchcock is he is a creature of I know he was working decades before the date I'm about to give, and for a decade or so afterwards. But in my head, Hitchcock is like a 40s to 60s guy. And so that's what I seek out.
Yeah, you very much associate him with that era in time, very sort of classical
His
Hollywood.
early to mid American era is what I associate him with.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of the greatest films are kind of in that sort of the classical like golden age of Hollywood sort of thing, as it were. But yeah, it's just kind of a mixture of the both, really. Like, yeah, he did sort of like bend his bridges pretty bad. But then he did kind of work, through across the many decades. But always kind of trying to, push the envelopes where he could. But I think he does kind of really get out on his own. And pardon me, so certainly post this film, post Selznick, and then kind of when he starts to be like his own producer, when he gets sort of like to Warner Brothers and like to Paramount, and he's given that sort of creative freedom. I think that's when we kind of really see him come into his own, if that sort of makes sense. So, yeah, so it's little from column A, little from column B, really.
I think I'd like it even more if I knew more about it, Chris. What about you?
Yeah, I think if I have some sort of facts that would.
Well, yeah, but that could be really dry, though, couldn't it?
Yeah, I always find like a little bit of excitement with the facts helps it kind of sink in.
So high octane facts you're asking for?
Well, maybe that'd be too exciting.
Well, yeah, it is getting late. What about if they were just fun?
Yeah, that sounds sensible.
Becca.
Sounds good. Yeah, I got some fun facts. I've got quite a lot of fun facts. And I also got some tropes that we can go through as well. Pardon me. So yeah, fun facts. Quite a few fun facts. So buckle in, everybody. So fun fact number one, I don't think we really mentioned it in passing here. Mikhail Chekhov was actually a nephew of Anton Chekhov, famous kind of acting master. Fun fact number two, which you have kind of mentioned, the famous Dali dream sequence was meant to be 20 minutes, but it's cut down to 2. Hitchcock originally wanted Joseph von Sternberg to direct, but ultimately William Cameron Menzies ended up doing it. He was actually art director on It's a Wonderful Life, Dave. Although when he did direct it, he thought the whole scene he felt it to be unappealing. He didn't really want to take credit for it. But obviously when the film came out and audiences reacted positively to the sequence, obviously Hitchcock was quite happy to swan in and take all the credit for it. Fun fact number 3, other actors who are up for the role of JB It included Cary Grant and Joseph Cotton. Actually, Joseph Cotton would appear in the Hitchcock-directed radio adaptation of this story in 1948, alongside Alida Valli, which is amazing. Other actresses considered for the role of Constance Peterson included Dorothy Maguire, which I think would have been great. Greta Garbo.
Greta Garbo, I
Oh
knew
my gosh.
about. I didn't know the other one.
Yeah, I would like to see that film. And another of Selznick's ingenues, Jennifer Jones, aka the future Mrs. Selznick. Fun fact number 4. I've got about 6 of these, so excuse me. The scene at the end where the clearly fake gun, this massive gun and fake hand. It was really kind of created out of necessity, really. At the time, a camera that had that depth of field just didn't exist. They didn't make it. There wasn't one in existence. One hadn't been made. So they really had to create this oversized hand with an oversized gun. Also, fun fact as well. Yeah, so obviously this film is in black and white. And then just on that particular scene when the gun is fired, you get kind of like several flashes of Technicolor red. So that's like the only color that you see in the film. Fun fact number 6. Oh wait, no, fun fact number 5. Luckily for Hitchcock, Selznick wasn't very involved in the actual production of this film due to working on his other film called Since You Went Away. That was it. Which similarly deals with soldiers returning from war with PTSD. Starring the future Mrs. Selznick, Jennifer Jones, whose career he was developing.
He was developing it very, very
yes, developing.
I
yes,
can develop
developing.
it at my house if you want.
Yes, I'll develop it in my bed. Just develop it in my bedroom.
You've got to
please.
keep developing it.
I think that's a great word. It's like you're a business developer or something. I just think, really?
It does imply you're going to have a great time in bed as well. You're going to be developed. You're going to learn something.
Yes, ingenue newcomer Jennifer Jones. What do you see in the millionaire David O. Selznick? So yeah, a couple of other facts. I think one of which we kind of spoke to a little bit before. Fact number 6: Salvador Dali was paid $4,000, which is a lot of money for that time, for his contribution, and submitted many ideas not actually used in the final film. Fun fact number 7, which you talked about. Spellbound received 6 Oscar nominations: Best Picture, Best Direction, Best Supporting Actor for Chekhov, Best Black and White Cinematography, and Best Sound Effects, to name but a few. Best Special Effects, to name but a few. Rosa won the Oscar for Best Score for this film, although Hitchcock didn't congratulate him on his score for The Lost Weekend, which he did back to back with Spellbound. The Lost Weekend was released first. And this kind of put Selznick and Hitchcock out a little bit, and felt the theremin aspect had been sort of leaked or stolen from Billy Wilder's film. Hitchcock kind of felt spectacularly betrayed, and didn't congratulate Roja, and they never really worked together again, which is very sad. I think that's awful. But I'll just see if I've got some fun facts. Please play the Vision on music whilst I look.
All right, hang on.
No, I think that's it. Right, okay.
All right. So sorry for the interval there, listeners, but it was all for nothing.
You can play.
Yeah.
No, this is it. I'll just go through some tropes very quickly, and then we'll be out your hair, and we can go on to the next film. Go through Hitchcock movie tropes. Hitchcock Bond. There isn't really one, but maybe Ingrid Bergman. She's not typically what you may think of when you think of Hitchcock Bond, but she is quite icy to begin with. Like, she's very career oriented, very focused on her patients. Just swats away all the he's that doctor who he tries it on with her. Floro, I think. He's constantly making passes at her, and she just kind of bats them away. And she's also kind of quite masculine. Like, she wears quite masculine clothing. She always wears her white lab coat and her glasses, and she's kind of got this this kind of front, this kind of guard up that that the other male characters have to try and beat down, is what I was going to say. They have to try and wear it down slowly, one by one. So the cameo, he appears approximately 35, 37 minutes in. He's seen leaving a lift in the Empire State Hotel, smoking a cigarette. He's also carrying a violin case, marking the first time he's seen with a musical instrument, which would go on to become like a signature prop. Like in other films, we see him carrying like maybe a cello case or a double bass, or a tuba or a trumpet, or another large musical instrument. So the MacGuffin, arguably, there are probably two MacGuffins in this film. Probably one is the romance between the two leads, and also at the end, the unmasking of the killer. We're not really too bothered that it's Dr. Mitchison. We're not really bothered about that. Other character, probably Bergman. Probably, yeah, she's tries to mother him quite a little bit. The innocent man on the run, that's obviously Gregory Peck's character. Is he guilty? Yes, no. Animals, none. I don't think there are any in this film. Stairs,
I don't
also
remember any
trope.
fruit.
There's no fruit. No, sorry, Chris, there's no fruity corner this time
No.
round. They eat some sandwiches. They eat liverwurst. Just running around. Maybe because she's Swedish, I don't know. But yeah, there's as you mentioned, Dave, when you were doing the scene by scene, there's the atmospheric, expressionistic scene with Peck as he descends the stairs even with a razor, as if he's going to kill Dr. Brylov, but no, he doesn't. And the characters with elements of good or bad, also Gregory Peck, who may or may not be a murderer, but also Dr. Mitchison, who seems quite avuncular to begin with, is obviously the outgoing director.
Thing is, he's been voted out of his job when he supposedly has recovered. So there's a bit of like pathos for him in that. And so he becomes sympathetic on that basis. He's close to our leading lady professionally at least, and he's been forced out of his job when she can't see any reason for it. So we are on his side.
This is it. But then yeah, so it mentions like senility, that sort of thing. But how old, how old is he? And I wonder if there's a bit of ageism at work, but he's probably not that old. Yeah, some notable scenes in that as well. Obviously the doors that we talked about during the first kissing scene, these are not doors. Yeah, the really cool scene with from the POV of him drinking the glass of poison milk with bromide. I think there was the multiple cases in sort of like 40s and 50s of patients contracting bromism, obviously from the use of bromide. Obviously it's not used very much these days due to that. So it's quite unusual to hear that again. Yeah, the Dali dream sequence that we've spoken about, and the 1940s dodgy whip projection during the skating sequence. But yeah, this is another fun fact about the fake hand that had to be made especially for this film. I wonder if it's the same hand that is then used in Dial for Murder. I don't know. But yeah, the two frames of Technicolor red that had to be cut by hand into every single print of this film. So imagine that job. That must have been quite a big undertaking. So yeah, it's not like CGI. They could do CGI in it today. No, quite a lot of work went into that one. So yeah, that's all I have at the minute, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Oh, that's fun, folks.
Eight
Yeah,
or nine facts
yeah,
and loads of
considering
other stuff. We're happy with that.
yeah, loads of
Yeah.
other crap.
Oh,
So
Okay. All right. As for social media, you can find me at the Pastor Kid 1976 on Twitter.
and you can find me on Twitter at Cinematron. You can find all the old episodes on Podbean or any podcast catcher app of your choosing.
yeah, you can find us. Yeah, Facebook, Expects to Talk, Twitter, X, @Expects to Talk, YouTube, Do Expects to Talk, Blue Sky, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Podbay, wherever you catch us. Please do give us a listen. Help us to share, like, rate, review. Helps us to rank higher and attract more listeners. And if you want, you can always email us, expectedtalk@gmail.com.
All right. Well, we can actually do 2 Hitchcock episodes in a row, which is awesome. So, which means, Becca,
Do you expect to talk will return with Notorious?
No, Notorious.